Sup you beautiful people. Hope you've had a fantastic day. Welcome back to another new episode of What If Naruto Was a League Summoner. If you guys enjoyed this what if, comment down below and let me know. And go ahead and check out other what ifs in the channel after watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. So now let's start this video. For the 15th time in a span of just under a week, Naruto Uzumaki found himself once facing Grafia Lucifuge once again, but not in a dance lesson, but in actual combat. If he thought she was harsh before with dance practice, now Naruto would rather have her taught him how to dance with her for 10 hours, rather than fight her for 10 minutes, let alone 10 more times, because for the entire duration of his training with her, Grafia had shown him why she was hailed as the silver-haired queen of annihilation, a woman whose strength rivaled that of the Demon King, and powerful enough to challenge even the strongest female devil Seraph Leviathan. So you decide to use fire to fight fire, or in our case, ice. Grafia stated as she raised a wall of ice that was even greater than the crystallized wall he had just created to shield himself from her devastating ice storm spell, to block his own counterattack, Flash Frost, a chunk of ice that exploded upon impact. But it did not even leave a single scratch on Grafia's defense. I will say that it's not the smartest decision, Naruto-sama. The silver-haired woman spoke, before their walls of ice exploded and shattered on their own into millions pieces of ice shards, which then turned his pointy tips toward Naruto and shot at him when Grafia willed it to. He had heard that Grafia excelled in ice manipulation and ice magic, and had anticipated them to be on a level that could surpass even the power of the Cryo Phoenix Anivia of the harsh frozen land Freljord, but everything she had shown him so far had exceeded even his wildest expectation. At the moment, they were sparring at a training ground in the mountain near Gremory residence, and more than 2 kilometers square of land had been completely frozen over by Grafia, who probably had yet to use her full power. But so did he. Calling for the power of Orn upon quick fusing with him, Naruto slammed his fist into the ground, causing divine fire to erupt from the crack that he created with the demigod strength, melting the ice shards even before they could reach it. Naruto then kept the fire up until the attack had ended, and spread his Cryo Phoenix wings out to take a long leap toward Grafia, coming at her with Orn's blazing hammer. The silver-haired maid was not so short-sighted to think that she could block something like that, and gracefully jumped to the side to avoid it, when Naruto brought the hammer down with the night trait of her queen piece. The hammer disappeared, and it was replaced by the Holy Sword Starfire Spellblade that Naruto used to block Grafia's ice sword when she came back at him from the side. Igniting the blade in divine fire, Naruto hoped to melt down the maid's weapon, but Grafia did not let that happen, manifesting a bluish, icy aura that surrounded the entire blade of her sword that allowed it to withstand the blazing fire of Naruto's Starfire Spellblade. She then pushed him back and slashed horizontally with her blade, but Naruto parried it with a swift strike before engaging her in a fierce duel of swordsmanship. The goal of their current sparring session was for Naruto to test his limit and see how far he could push himself beyond it. It was the reason why while he was fighting Grafia, who was helping him create a tense combat situation. Naruto was also wearing a special pair of bracelet-like devices that were designed by Azazel himself to drain him of his demonic power and apply a ridiculous amount of weight on his entire body. They made moving at a greater speed much more difficult than normal, making Naruto rely on his abilities to block, counter and neutralize Grafia's attacks, instead of just using his speed to dodge, so that he could drain himself of his power at an even faster rate. Alright Naruto-sama, I think you are low enough. Grafia spoke when Naruto jumped back from her, sending out a wave of divine fire, only for it to be dispersed by a blast of ice magic so powerful that an entire area on his path was completely frozen. Naruto was not surprised by this, however, and quickly returned to the ground, stabbing Starfire Spellblade down into the ground before unmerging himself with Anivia and Orn from his body, and then summoning Ari to his side. Alright, let's do this Ari. Naruto spoke to his champion, and the 9-tailed fox Vastaya gave Naruto a nod before she changed form, as Naruto used his appearance-changing ability on her. Her hair, and the fur of her ears became pink. And her Korean-style dress turned into a white kimono with blue borders that was opened at her shoulder, exposing an ample amount of cleavage. Likewise, the color of her tails were changed to blue with glowing tips. Unitera Arsenal Balance Breaker. Multiverse Transcendence. The announcement was made, and in a flash of light, Spirit Blossom Ari gained her story, allowing the 9-tailed fox Vastaya of Runeterra to become the capricious, whimsical spirit of salivation of the spirit realm, who saw the fate of the living as a game of chase, and offered the chance for souls to find their final rest, but would not intervene if they strayed from the path. In the form, Ari's foxfire grew to a spiritual level and became so powerful that upon her transformation, a fiery white aura was unleashed, melting away the frozen land around them. Well, we're here. Might as well have some fun. Who's up for a spirited chase? Ari asked, quoting herself in the game, giving Naruto her ears and tails in appearance. With the empowered speed and agile of Ari, Naruto was able to swiftly dodge and parried every ice spear and spell that Grafia launched at him, as he wielded Starfire Spellblade in one hand, and created numerous orbs of spiritual foxfire in the other and around his body, sending them at the silver-haired maid. The empowered orbs of foxfire were strong enough to break through her defense, and melt away almost all of her icy weaponry, forcing Grafia to finally take a more cautious approach in answering his attacks. For several minutes, the two of them fought each other in an intense battle of powerful magic and abilities, with spears and swords of ice, colliding with orbs of fire in midair to create explosions that could be seen from miles away. Knowing that he could only keep Ari in her spirit blossom form for a couple more minutes, Naruto decided to change his tactic and rush to Grafia with the empowered spirit rush. Grafia was ready for him, but her eyes widened slightly in surprise when Evelyn's shadow, the natural ability that Naruto could use without the need to fuse with the ancient demoness, started emitting from his body and covering an entire area in total darkness, allowing Naruto to stealthily disappear into it. There were multiple ways for Grafia to deal with this shadow ability, having dealt with Evelyn herself and her sensual, mischievous behaviors, while using said ability long enough to know which of it was the best one. But the silver-haired maid remained idle and waited for Naruto to make his move. Her eyes then caught a glint of light, and swiftly dodged to the side to avoid a white orb of deception that was thrown at her from the side. Knowing very well what the orb could do, she did not waste any time after that to dodge it again when it suddenly stopped in mid-air and came back, giving Naruto just a slight opening to finally reach Grafia, and come at the beautiful maid with a full swing of his sword, fully expecting her to either dodge, create a shield to block it, or parry his strike with an ice sword of her own. But he was wrong. A powerful force slammed into him, surprising Naruto as was sent rocketing backward and only managing to recover when he stabbed Starfire down to stop himself, his feet sliding along the ground. He looked up and saw that Grafia now had an icy blue aura around her body, holding in her hands an intricate bow made of ice. As the maid pulled the string back, an ice arrow appeared and notched itself into the bow, as the entire thing glowed with a tremendous amount of demonic power, causing the ground underneath them to start shaking. Naruto did not need to be a genius to know there's no way he could block something like that in his current state, and wasted no time jumping to the side to dodge it when she shot the arrow at him. What he did not expect, however, was a silver blast of demonic power that was unleashed along with the arrow, blasting off an entire path of frozen land in front of her. The shock sent Naruto crashing face first into the ground and tumbling like a ragdoll thrown by an angry child. What the fuck? When he looked up, Naruto wasn't surprised to see that Grafia was ready with another arrow. Language, Naruto-sama. With that said, Grafia shot the second arrow at Naruto, who was much more prepared this time, and was able to dodge fully without being sent away again. With a burst of energy to his feet, covering his entire body in Ari's foxfire, Naruto dashed toward Grafia, quickly closing the distance between him and her in the blink of an eye, as he dodged her third arrow with Starfire in his hand. The blonde was ready to strike, to deliver a sword slash that could perhaps break Grafia's bow, only to find himself suddenly losing his strength, as Spirit Blossom Ari was forcefully separated from his body, as she reverted back to her original form and disappeared, causing the blonde to collapse. The last thing that he saw before he passed out was Grafia catching him in her hands. You are awake. The first thing Naruto heard when he regained his consciousness and woke up with a groan was the sound of fire burning, and the cheerful voice of the fallen angel governor of Grigori, who was sitting on a wooden log beside a campfire that he was poking with a long wooden stick. Noticing that he was lying on the ground, Naruto quickly sat up, finding out that most of his strength had returned to him, but he was starving. It was already nighttime. Here, this is for you. It's not much, but I am sure there's a lot of love in it. Azazel grinned and then handed Naruto a carefully wrapped lunchbox. Naruto only stared at the lunchbox for a second before he quickly snatched it away from Azazel's hand, and proceeded to move even closer to the campfire, to ease the coldness of the frozen land around him. Where's Grafia anyway? Naruto asked, noticing Grafia wasn't around as he unwrapped the cloth around the lunchbox, and then opened it to find some rice balls, a pair of chopsticks and several slices of pork inside. Picking up the chopsticks and the rice ball, Naruto took a bite and moaned at the taste. Oh whoa, this is so delicious. Azazel laughed in amusement at Naruto's reaction, as the blonde proceeded to devour the food inside the box. Glad that you like it. Not only Rias and Ravel, but Akeno also contributed during her spare time from training to make those for you. Shit, I could have sworn that the kitchen turned into a warzone just this morning. He then paused for a second before answering Naruto's first question. Grafia has returned to the residence to clean up. She also said she would come back to check on you later. What happened to your nose? Naruto couldn't help but ask, noticing the bruise on Azazel's left cheek. I told Grafia there's a very nice waterfall nearby. The duo-haired man answered with a painful smile, making Naruto's sweat drop, but decided to shrug it off in the end. Then Azazel spoke again after he had done a quick scan of his eyes on Naruto's body. I see that you have gotten stronger these past few days. Your demonic reserve has increased compared to the last time I saw you. Really? But why didn't I feel any different? Naruto couldn't help but ask after swallowing the rice in his mouth. How long was I out, by the way? A couple of hours. Naruto cocked his eyebrow in surprise at that. Normally, it would take him more than 6 to at least recover some of his strength without help. And in case you were wondering, Grafia and I didn't try to help you replenish your reserve faster. You recovered on your own. So I did get stronger. At a rather impressive rate too. Azazel praised, his expression turned serious for a split second as he eyed the blonde, who was happily enjoying the meal the girls had made for him. So, how's everyone's training? Oh, you know, with their mental obstacles out of the way, Akeno and Kaneko are both growing stronger and stronger with each passing day, getting more familiar with the power they are born with. Who knows, you might even have to start watching yourself around them when you return. Azazel answered with a small shrug. The smile returned to his face as he gave Naruto the answer he had been waiting to hear. Ria's and Ashia's training are both also going well. Kiba left to train with his master a few days ago. I haven't heard from him since. Zenobia is currently training with the help of Arena, and Gasper is of course with Zillion learning to master his sacred gear. If I can rate your process, then I will give it an 8 out of 10. That's so good to hear. Naruto grinned as he received a bottle of water from Azazel. You know what, Azazel-sensei? You might not look like it and you joke around all the time, but you're unexpectedly a nice person and a teacher, you know. Hey, that's kind of rude, you know. Azazel retorted rather playfully. But thanks anyway. That's one of the nicest compliment I have heard in a while. Yeah, I can clearly see why you can't get things like that more often. Naruto sarcastically teased him, making Azazel laugh in amusement. I will give you that one, kid. Azazel laughed before he pulled out a tablet-like device from his jacket and gave it to Naruto. Here, Ajuka wanted me to give you this. They finished it. Not needing to ask his fallen angel to know what Ajuka wanted him to have, Naruto took the device from Azazel's hand and turned it on, feeling excitement bubbling in his chest as the hologram projection of a floating island appeared in front of him. Whoa. The blonde couldn't help but gasp, feeling a chill running down his spine as he put the tablet down his lap and zoomed in to look at the details of the real-life version, or at least, his world's version of the Summoner Rift. There's a folder with the rules in it as well. Check it out later and tell me what you think. I will give your feedback to Ajuka and the other organizers of the tournament. Naruto nodded his head in understanding as Azazel spoke to him. These digital guidebooks will be given to every contestant of the new game mode before public announcements, so they will have time to prepare their strategies for it. So obviously you can't show yours to Ria's or anyone else of your own team until she gets one of her own. You can tell Ravel though, since she's your manager and will be coming along with you to see the rift for the first time in a few days. Naruto could see that Azazel didn't tell him to make sure Ravel wasn't going to tell anyone about the guidebook, fully trusting in her ability to keep secret and skills as his manager. Also, considering the meticulousness and professionalism Ravel had shown so far while sorting his schedules. Letters of invitation, she might even be the one who would constantly have to make sure that he would keep everything that he had learned from the guidebook to himself, and not tell anyone like Ria's. Damn, they really pulled all the stops on this one, didn't they? Naruto couldn't help but ask, as he checked every detail of the rift's forests, with all kinds of plants, floras and also a lot more creatures than the Runeterra version Summoner's Rift to give it a realistic feel. Of course, there were also special monster camps for them to fight and take down to gain advantages for their teams during the game, but it's hard to ignore the wildlife the organizers had put in the rift to make the jungle areas even more interesting. Considering how popular you and your champions have become among the main audiences of the game, I think Ajuka and the organizers really have done everything that they can to make sure that it will be the most popular game mode. Azazel pointed with a small smile. The Youth Devil tournament has not even started yet, and the media has already deemed the game mode a huge success. Some has even started planning for the official tournament, where champions like Daihauser Belial and Roygun Belfigur will battle to not take down each other, but to gain control over the rift and take down each other's nexus. Oh wow. I guess you can thank your Sona for that. She has grown so popular that even her fans are looking forward to seeing her summoner and our own version of the game she originated from. Azazel continued, before he glared at Naruto and pointed a finger at his face. By the way kid, we have been in the underworld for an entire fucking week, and you still haven't gotten me Sona's signature. Hey, she's busy, alright. Naruto retorted, I can't just summon her while she's in the middle of a photo shoot or a concert or anything like that. You know I always ask for my champion's consent before I summon them, right? You know what kid? I like to think that you want to keep her all for yourself. The fallen angel said as he and Naruto stood up and clashed their foreheads against one another. Glaring into each other's eyes as they did so, it must feel really nice to be able to summon that blue-haired sweetheart whenever you want, and have her signature whenever you feel like it. Oh, you bet it does. Naruto smirked. Is there a problem here? Before either Azazel and Naruto could say anything more to each other, a stern voice finally turned their attention away from each other, and both looked to see Graphia walking toward them with her arms crossing under her bust. She was no longer wearing her maid outfit, but a more casual one that made her look relatively younger, consisting of a pair of blue jeans, and a black shirt with golden caramel accents at the edges of the shirt, and spread horizontally near the bottom. With two light golden trims going down the shirt, and the shirt split slightly above her stomach, exposing her midriff. In addition, Graphia also wore around her neck and shoulders a long, cyan scarf made from light material that reached her hips. "Oh, Graphia-san, welcome back." Naruto greeted the silver-haired maid cheerily, before he elbowed the fallen angel governor in the rib, making him laugh before putting a hand on his shoulder. "There is no problem here, isn't that right, sensei?" "Yup, no problem at all, Graphia." Azazel grinned while patting Naruto on his shoulder, making the silver-haired woman look at them with narrowed eyes. After a moment, she decided to shrug it off, and walked toward Naruto to say, "If you have finished your dinner, Naruto-sama, then let's continue your training." "Wait, right now?" Naruto asked, shoving the last rice ball into his mouth. He knew that he couldn't argue with Graphia, but he still wanted to ask because the past few days she had always let him rest at night. "Tomorrow you have a party to attend with Ryuzoju-sama and the others, Naruto-sama, so we need to compensate for it tonight." Graphia answered as she picked up the half-empty water bottle he left on the ground and gave it to him. "I see. Thank you, Graphia-san." Naruto nodded his head and smiled at her. "Well, I will leave you two to it then. Make sure you check out the rules and contact me when you are done." Naruto nodded his head in understanding, before Azazel made his wings appear on his back and took off, flying away and disappearing into the night sky, leaving Naruto behind to try and survive another day against the silver-haired Queen of Annihilation. Baddest do what the baddest do, we the baddest. Still listening to that song. Even with both earphones on, which were custom-made so Ari could wear it comfortably with her fox ears, it wasn't difficult for the nine-tailed Gumiho to hear that trademark sultry voice of her best friend Evelyn, and turn her head around to see the ancient demoness standing behind her with a seductive smile on her face. Having known Evelyn for so long, Ari no longer felt surprised whenever Evelyn tried to creep up on her, something that she always tried to do to literally everyone during their first days of being champions of the league. "I am practicing, Eve." Ari answered as she removed the earphones from her ears, after turning off the music player Sona had gifted her some time ago during one of her home visits to the Uzumaki residence. "Shouldn't you as well?" Naruto had talked to them about his idea of bringing the KDA to life, and both she and Evelyn had agreed that it might be fun for them to do it. It's not like they had anything else better to do while they were staying with their summoner in his world, and weren't on league duties in Runeterra. Even though Naruto had always told her that there's no need, Ari had always wanted to do something to repay her summoner for giving her home in his world, and possibly a chance to be with those who were just like her, fox demons. Aside just fighting alongside him whenever he required her strength and powers. Ari didn't know if she could become like Sona, but she was determined to make it possible. Evelyn, meanwhile, would do everything he told her to, as long as he let her torture his enemies, and fuck her afterward. "I have already memorized the whole song, Foxy." Evelyn answered simply as she struck a pose with one arm above her head and a cheeky smirk, mimicking her own pose in the MV baddest, even altering her appearance and outfit to match herself look like it. Evelyn is a shapeshifter, so she can turn herself into any form she wants, but she will still needs Naruto to change her appearances himself for his balance breaker to work on her. "Coming at you live, real wild. Here to light it up, set the world on fire." "That's something you really want to do, don't you?" Ari asked with a playful smile, making Evelyn giggle softly before nodding. "Ah, you know me so well, Foxy." The ancient demoness then continued with a blissful smile, "But I like to actually break hearts in twos more, maybe even several pieces, not just two. 'Cause that's what the baddest do." Ari clapped her hands for Evelyn, but she wasn't surprised that the ancient demoness could sing so well. After all, being over 1500 years old, she had literally done everything. Singing to lure humans into her traps with her sultry voice was without a doubt one of them. "That was so good, Eve." Ari smiled, before she took out a notebook with several lyrics from her skirt's pocket, and showed it to Evelyn. "I haven't, unfortunately. Some of my lines are in Korean, and they are pretty hard for me to remember." The fox girl finished with a shrug. She had also been told by Naruto that her basic concept was a Gumiho, a Korean nine-tailed fox demon. "Well, maybe you should take a Korean class. Your character is supposed to be Korean after all." Evelyn pointed out before she crossed her arms under her ample breasts and spoke her thoughts aloud. "Seeing you having trouble with your lines make me wonder if that shrimpakali can really sing. It's Kaisa that I'm worried, you know." Evelyn looked at Ari before nodding her head in understanding. As much as they wanted to make the KDA dream of their summoner come true, Kaisa's case would still be the problem that they would need to help him solve first. The Kali had been easy for them to convince to join the KDA, as she thought it might be fun to become an idol, but Kaisa was a whole different story. Moreover, it's not like they could just strap someone else in and call themselves the real-life version of the famous virtual girl group. Even though Seraphine was a possible choice, everyone had come to know her as a solo singer who did collaboration with the KDA in the lore of the skinline, so it would feel weird if they made the starry-eyed songstress the fourth member of the group and excluded Kaisa. You girls don't have to worry about her anymore. I talked to Kaisa about it yesterday. Before either female champion could say anything else to each other, they both heard that voice and turned their heads to see Naruto walking toward them with a grin on his face. Hey, Naruto. Before Ori could say anything to greet her summoner and welcome him back, having not seen him for almost an entire week as he went to the mountain to train for the upcoming tournament, Evelyn had already thrown herself at him, almost knocking him down onto the floor. Naruto opened his mouth to speak to her, but Evelyn had already smashed her lips against his, and shoved her tongue into his mouth, effectively shutting him up with her tongue dancing lewdly around his, leaving Ari to stand there with a light blush on her cheeks. Eventually, Naruto gave into the kiss and began to return the favor just as hard, having gotten past the point of feeling uncomfortable whenever Evelyn went overboard with her lustful affection for him. After a few minutes of struggle, Naruto was able to force her tongue back into her mouth, and took control of their passionate, somewhat lewd tongue-filled kiss, as her curvaceous body melting against his, showing just how much she was enjoying the feeling of his tongue moving how he wanted it to inside her mouth. Ahem. Finally, having gotten enough, Ari cleared her throat loudly into her hand, and caused Naruto to break the kiss with the ancient demoness, leaving a strand of saliva connecting the tip of their tongues, but Evelyn happily slipped it up. Turning her head around to look and smile cheekily at Ari, Evelyn then slipped her right hand down his strong body, and moved it under his pants to grab at his member, leaning a bit to the side, so that Ari could see clearly what she was doing. Are you two done? The nine-tailed Gumiho asked again while trying to look away, but Naruto could only laugh apologetically at her in response, as Evelyn stroked and tugged at his member, making the blonde feel too good to even think about telling her to stop. Not to mention that the second he tried to do so and maybe pushing her back from him, Evelyn would almost instantly put her hand on his balls and squeeze, threatening to crush them. Naruto didn't know if she would really do that or not, but he did not want to find out. He had yet forgotten that Evelyn was the demon of agony, and she liked pain just as much as she had come to enjoy pleasure. Jealous? Evelyn asked with a teasing smile before she turned her eyes back to Naruto, telling him in a very seductive tone, and you, Han, there's some making up for you to do. How come you only summoned that little fox girl to train with you? What about me? I can be useful too, so much more useful than Ari. Just imagine all the late night activities we could have done in that mountain, under the night sky. Oh hello. I'm still here. Ari crossed her arms and said with a light scold, but that did not stop Evelyn from giving his member a firm squeeze, making the blonde lean up a little in response to it. It was after that that Evelyn finally took her hand back from his pants. Sorry about that, Ari. Naruto put his hands together and said apologetically to his fox champion, who nodded her head in understanding. Both of them had gotten used to Evelyn's antics at this point. Hey, have you guys seen Rias? I have been looking for her since I returned. She left with her mother earlier this morning. I don't know to where though, but it seemed important. Ari gave the answer, before she asked, by the way Naruto, what do you mean why I don't have to worry about Kaisa anymore? Oh right, I talked to her about it yesterday. Naruto spoke with a smile. She didn't mind joining the KDA, saying that it might be a breath of fresh air for her, but as soon as it's done, I would have to let her return to Runeterra. She didn't want to leave the void unchecked for too long. Okay, so no paparazzi, no interviews and no fan meeting for that girl. Evelyn listed, making Naruto nod his head at her in confirmation. I think that's understandable and acceptable, but can she really sing or dance? You will be surprised. She's quite good too. Naruto said Grafia and I let her watch the MVs yesterday, and she was able to copy her dances to perfection. Her singing skill is probably going to need some work though, but she promised she would practice when she had free time. So, the stiff daughter of the void really has it in her after all. I thought she would decline your offer the moment you suggested it, and we would have to remove that stick up her ass to replace it with something else to get her to join. Evelyn giggled, placing a finger on his chest and lowering it down until she could grab his crotch again, but Naruto was fully prepared this time and grabbed her wrist before she could do it. You girls have free time later today? Naruto then asked while still holding Evelyn's wrist with enough strength to completely overpower her as she tried to best free. I can summon Akali and Kaisa, so you four can get some practice with each other. There's a special meeting tonight and I have a feeling that everyone is going to ask me about you girls again. Sure. I am free this afternoon so let's do it. Ari smiled as she nodded her head to him. When he looked at Evelyn, her answer was just as he had expected. Whether or not I am free this evening is entirely based on you. She then leaned toward him and whispered into his ear, as I said, you had some making up to do, and I don't intend to wait till later tonight, or tomorrow. Right? Naruto chuckled as Ari rolled her eyes at them. Geez, just get a room all ready for you two. Well, if you want you are free to join us. What are you saying? Ari stuttered, blushing up a storm at Evelyn's suggestion, while the demoness broke out in another fit of giggles. Relax, geez, you know that I am just kidding, Foxy. What's with the reaction? Evelyn continued to tease, licking the tip of her fingernails as she eyed Ari interestedly. Ugh, I will see you this afternoon, Naruto. With that said, Ari hurriedly stomped away, disappearing from sight before Naruto could say anything to her. Aw, how cute. Evelyn giggled into her hand before turning over to Naruto, wrapping herself around his left arm, and pushing her ample breasts around his bicep before saying, so, shall we find a room or do you want to do me right here? You just can't help it, can you? Naruto asked with a roll of his eyes, making Evelyn giggle before walking with him, as he started making his way back to his room. Get the fuck in there. Saying that, Naruto grabbed Evelyn by the back of her head, and roughly pushed her into his room when the two of them arrived at it, making her stumble a couple of steps before standing straight up and strutting forward into the bathroom with Naruto following closely behind her. Quickly taking his clothes off, Naruto then stepped into the shower room, taking Evelyn with him as he willed her clothing to disappear. As the shower head sprayed hot water down upon them, making Evelyn's soft, voluptuous body glistening erotically under the light. She purred, writhing against him as she stroked and tugged strongly at his member under the shower, grinding her body against Naruto's hard muscles. And she did just that as Naruto took his well-deserved shower. So, try to not cause any trouble, alright? Naruto spoke, and everyone knew who he was sending those words to, even though she wasn't the only one standing in front of him. Naruto, Rias and the rest of his girlfriend's peerage had just arrived at the party for young devils, sponsored by the Demon King themselves. For the last time, Naruto, yes. I will do my best to stay out of trouble. Evelyn groaned, but she was smiling playfully at Naruto while standing with the other members of the KDA, including even Kaisa, who were once again in their all-out pop star appearances. Because of it, the four were currently the center of attention, as many young devils and even some adults were looking at them excitedly. Come on Foxy, let's go have some fun. It's not every day that we can attend a high-class party like this. With that said, Evelyn grabbed her best friend's arm and dragged her away. It did not take it long, however, for them to be surrounded by male and female devils alike, but the two didn't look uncomfortable at all. If anything, they seemed to enjoy the attention, and Naruto could understand why. Kaisa, I know that Ari will keep Evelyn out of trouble, but can you keep an eye out for them too? Naruto asked, turning his attention over to the young woman standing next to him with a hand on her hip. I will. The daughter of the void answered him in a calm tone before she walked away, taking with her a glass of wine. She too was soon surrounded by fans, those who seemed to love her so much more than the other two, but as Naruto had expected, even as they started asking her many questions, Kaisa simply ignored them as she kept a close watch on Evelyn. Well, I'm off as well, bro. Resummon me if you need anything. The Kali announced with a playful punch to Naruto's arm before she walked away, jumping over a group of devils who tried to approach her before disappearing, leaving them all confused. With that, the Occult Research Club also split up, with Akeno and Naruto accompanying Rias with Ravel at his side around the hall to greet the other high-class devils. As more guests began to arrive at the party, it did not take it long for Naruto to notice a person who seemed to stand out from the rest, appearing to be a young woman with a voluptuous figure and very long blonde hair with matching eyes. Her eyebrows were cut short and round in the traditional symbol of nobility, while her hair was tied in a loose ponytail, reaching all the way down to her legs and ending in a spiral, with taut bandages to keep it in place. Her attire, meanwhile, was an evening dress that hugged the lewd curves of her body, barely concealing her mountainous breasts from imagination, and had a slit up to her left hip to show up her long, sexy leg and thigh. In addition, she also wore a pair of stiletto shoes, but only in the color of light purple and amethyst earrings. Her most distinctive traits, meanwhile, were the pair of yellow fox ears on her head. It was a trait that she shared with the young woman standing next to her, who also had her tail behind her, as she was dressed in an elegant shrine maiden outfit, and appeared to be the blonde bodyguard. Hey, Ravel. While Rias and Akeno were conversing with a childhood friend, Naruto turned to his manager, who seemed to be taking a lot of pride in walking next to him, and asked in a low tone, so only her could hear, and he wouldn't disturb Rias' conversation, is that who I think she is? Ravel then looked at the two women for a second before nodding her head to Naruto, confirming his assumption. Yes, Naruto-sama. That's Asaka-sama, the leader of the West Yokai faction in Kyoto, and the current head of the Kitsune Yokai clan. Without a pause, Naruto gave Rias and Akeno some quick words before walking away to find Ari, with Ravel coming with him as usual. Finding her giving selfies and even signatures to a group of devils on the other side of the ballroom with Evelyn, Naruto didn't waste much time pushing through the crowd surrounding them to get to his champion's side, gaining her attention as he spoke to her. Ari, I need you to come with me. There's someone I want you to meet. Yes, please lead the way. Ari nodded her head to him, before following after Naruto under the jealous stares of the devils around them, but Naruto paid them no mind as he led Ari to Yasaka, who also noticed them and straightened herself up with a warm smile on her face when she saw the fox champion. Ah, there Ori gasped lightly into her hand when she saw them, making Naruto nod his head to her with a small smile, before turning his attention back to Yusaka. Yusaka-san. Naruto addressed the blonde fox woman. I don't believe we have met, but I'm Naruto Uzumaki-san. Yes, I have been hearing many great things about you. The leader of the Yaokai faction nodded her head with a small smile, as her bodyguard lowered her head to him. Ava likewise did the same, showing respect to the leader of the Yaokai faction. I have also received your message about Ari. It's a pleasure to finally meet you both. The pleasure is all mine, Yusaka-san. Naruto smiled as he looked at his fox champion and introduced Amari. This woman here is Yusaka, the leader of the West Yaokai faction, and head of the Kitsune clan. Pleased to meet you, Lady Yusaka. Ari spoke to Yusaka and shook hands with the older fox woman, wearing an expression that was a mix of both nervousness and excitement when Yusaka and her bodyguard made her 9 tails appear. Oh wow, you two are just like me. And there are many more that are like us too, Ari. Yusaka smiled before pointing out, although, only 3 of us have up to a total of 9 tails. The others are just like Kairi here. I see. You said 3. Who is the other one? The Gumiho couldn't help but ask. My daughter, Kunu. Yusaka answered, she can't be here tonight, but I can't wait to introduce you two to each other. She has always wanted to meet another 9-tailed fox just like us. We might not be of the same species, Ari, but that doesn't mean we can't welcome you to our family. The 9-tailed Gumiho widened her eyes at that. I don't know what to say. Naruto then put a hand on his shoulder and assured her in a soft tone, you search for your own kind in Runeterra might be fruitless, but that doesn't mean it has to end the same here in this world. Yes, it will be our honor to have you join our clan, Ari-sama. The bodyguard, Kairi, stated as she lowered her head to Ari much to her surprise at the respectfulness in her tone. Naruto-san, do you mind if I speak to Ari in private? Yusaka then asked Naruto, smiling at him, I can't leave my hometown for too long, so please allow me to get right to it with her. You can rest assured that I won't try to take her away from you or anything like that. Oh, no, you don't have to worry about it, Yusaka-san. Naruto shook his head and replied to her with a wide grin, you do what you must. Ari deserves it. He said, smiling at the 9-tailed Gumiho. I understand. Yusaka smiled at him and gave Naruto a nod before looking at Ari. Please follow me, Ari. Let's find somewhere private to talk about our future together. Yes, please lead the way. Ari nodded her head at Yusaka, who then turned around to walk away. Before Ari followed her, however, she suddenly turned around and threw her arms around Naruto to pull herself toward him into a tight hug, causing the blonde to look at her in surprise. Nonetheless, he smiled and returned the gesture as Ari leaned her head against his shoulder and said, Thank you, Naruto. Thank you so much. Please don't mention it. Naruto grinned, and Ari then let go of him before walking away with Yusaka and her bodyguard, leaving Naruto with Ravel, who also had a smile on her face, as she looked at Ari until she had disappeared. The party went on rather uneventfully after that, with the only thing interesting to Naruto was his meeting with the other heirs and their peerage, who had fought alongside him and his friends in the Battle of Reykjavik. Since he and Momo exchanged text messages almost every day, the two were not that surprised to meet each other again, though Naruto promised to take her out on another date after the tournament was over. Once again, Sakura invited him to a trip to Agrees, a large city that appeared as a floating island located in the Ager's territory. Though this time she also invited Rias and everyone else, with the promise of letting them have a VIP service at Aria's resort, which was the best in the underworld. Plus, since her parents both wished to meet him, Naruto couldn't really decline her offer anymore in favor of his training to prepare for the tournament. Moreover, if I beat you in our match, you have to allow me to do a video review of one of the Mecha Kingdom mechs. That's what Sakura had told him when he asked if she was looking forward to their match. Even though he had no intention of losing, Naruto had a feeling that he would let Sakura do that anyway. Assuming that he could convince one of his champions to become a giant robot once again for her to do a mech review for her channel on DeviTube, something that he also had just discovered only recently. It was near the end of the party that Naruto found himself dancing with the girls of the Occult Research Club across the dancing floor. First, he danced with Rias, Akeno and then Ravel, Ashia, Zenobia, Irina and Kaneko, with Kiba and Gasper, Ari and Evelyn watching and cheering for him silently on the side. Kaisa was just standing by herself as usual, while Akali was just enjoying another bowl of ramen she managed to get the kitchen to make for her. Naruto wouldn't call himself a master of dancing just yet, but at least he's good enough to not embarrass himself in front of everyone now as he danced with the girls, and he had Greyfie to thank for that. Can I have a dance too, Naruto? It was just after he had finished another dance with Momo that Naruto heard that voice and turned around to see the maven of the string, Sona, standing there with a soft smile on her face, wearing an elegant blue dress that went well with the color of her hair, which wasn't tied in their usual pigtails, but was let fall down her back. She was, without a doubt, one of the most beautiful girls in the ballroom tonight. Sona. Naruto spoke in surprise before he asked her through the telepathic link between them, as all eyes were upon the blue-haired musician, who had become the center of attention. When did you arrive? Why didn't you tell me that you would come? I want to surprise you, Naruto. I am sorry that I can't come sooner, and that I haven't been able to visit home much recently. It's okay, you don't have to worry about it. Naruto smiled as Sona lowered her head to him a little, closing her eyes with a soft smile on her face. Momo seemed to understand what the maven wanted and gave Sona a soft smile before taking her leave, returning to her king's side, who had also just finished dancing with her two male servants, Issei and Saji. When Sona finally raised her head up, Naruto extended his hand forward and offered it to her. The maven accepted it with a beautiful smile, and allowed him to lead her into the dance floor, the smile never leaving her face as she danced with perfect gracefulness with her summoner. It was finally the day of the rating game between Ria's Gremory and Sona's Citri. The fans couldn't get any more excited, not when they were being treated with the music of the KDA and Sona for the opening ceremony. At the moment, all four of them were on the stage, singing and dancing the songs the world had known them for, from pop star to more, before continuing on with the songs that they had written themselves, while Sona was behind them playing the music. It was without a doubt the best event for any League of Legends fan out there. Is everyone ready? Rias asked, looking at her peerage who had all geared up for the match against the Citri, earning nods from them, and a joint shout of determination. Yes. Lord Gremory, his wife Fenelana, and Surzich's son, Milikas, who had introduced himself to them a few days ago, were also present to give Ria's peerage their support and wishing them luck in the game. Surzich's, meanwhile, were already in the spectator lounge for VIP guests, being accompanied by Grafia and the other Demon King. Do your best, Rias Nisama. Win, Rias. Show them what you are capable of, Rias. Yes, Kasama, Tsusama. Rias nodded her head at her parents before turning her attention over to Milikas and giving him a bright smile. Of course, Milikas-kun. I will win. Soon, the magic circle was ready and lit up underneath the group, transporting them towards their designated battlefield. This is Zenobia gasped in amazement as she looked around their base. Yup. Naruto grinned before he heard Grafia's voice. Hello, everyone. I, the queen of the Lucifer group, Grafia, will be carrying the role of arbiter in the rating game between the Gremory group and the Citri group on this occasion. The voice of Silver Hair Queen of Annihilation was heard across the arena. In the name of my master, Surzich's Lucifer, I will watch over the battle between these two families. Welcome to the Devil's Rift. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below, and turn on the bell notification. And also check out other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.